up, Epic Gamers? What's going on, y'all? MC Swigga here once again, and welcome back to the movie review. That's totally a show that I do, the movie review. That's the name of it. You can tell from my shirt, obviously we're gonna be talking about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I got my Sonic shirt on, and if you tell me that that's not Sonic, I will not believe you. Sonic the Hedgehog. What exactly can be said? Look, I'm gonna be totally real with all of y'all. I have never played that many Sonic the Hedgehog games. I've only played the first 3 on Sega Genesis, and I think I played the 4th one on the Wii when they were doing that whole, we're gonna take games from the past and try and make new modern versions and call them sequels phase. You know, like what they did with Super Mario Bros. Wii. From what I played, I liked it. And again, obviously, I hadn't played a lot of the games that people said were the worst Sonic games. A lot of people say there's some really shit Sonic games out there. I've only played like 4 titles, so I really can't say what is the best and what is the worst Sonic. But apparently there was a phase where there was some really fucking shit Sonic games. So yeah, aside from playing some of the games and watching some reruns of the old 90s cartoons, I only vaguely knew about what Sonic was. I know that Sonic is a blue hedgehog who likes chili dogs and can go really fast, and he fights the evil Dr. Robotnik / Eggman. And so I basically knew the logistics. So I was kind of wondering, what are they gonna do with the movie? So with the movie itself, it's basically your typical cartoon character comes to the modern times and they have to send him back home or something like that. They go on some big journey to get to some big destination, but obviously the lesson's going to be, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey and the friends that you make along the way. And the movie begins by showing us Baby Sonic, which feels a little bit like they were trying to jump on that Star Wars Mandalorian Baby Yoda thing. I mean, hell, the fucking whatever that peanut company's doing, they did that with that Super Bowl commercial with Baby Nut. You see Green Hill Zone and like kind of a live action type thing, and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. But Sonic was raised by a giant owl who was then ambushed and attacked by like Indian echidnas, I think. That might be part of some of the I don't know, those animes, the Sonic animes, them Sonic Chinese cartoons. I'm not really sure. So if y'all probably know what that was about, feel free to let me know in the comments. To make sure that Sonic is okay, she sends Baby Sonic to Earth with the rings, which in the games, they're just power-ups, but here they decided to make the rings have a little bit more going on, and that the rings can actually teleport you from world to world and location to location. And so yeah, young Sonic is sent to Earth, and we jump forward 10 years later, and we see James Marsden is playing a cop, lives with his veterinarian girlfriend and their dog, and it seems like this small little town life is totally fine, but obviously James Marsden has dreams to become what he thinks is a real cop, and he's gonna get a job promotion to become this real cop out in San Francisco. I also love the fact that they tried to connect it to the game by having it that the town he lives in is called Green Hills, Montana. So that was their best way of connecting Green Hill Zone as best as they can. So we see Sonic is basically living like a hermit. He watches everybody from a distance. He makes up fake code names for everybody, like he calls James Marsden Donut Lord because he's always talking to donuts and eating donuts by himself in his car. And Schwartz did a good job as Sonic. I kind of would have preferred if they got Jaleel White, because let's face it, what is Jaleel White doing? I mean, come on, I watched some reruns of those old 90s cartoons where they had Urkel as Sonic, but either way, I think Ben Schwartz did a really good job as the character of Sonic. He really captured that kind of 90s kid, whoa, attitude that Sonic has, and honestly, it could have been really annoying, and it probably was for some people in some scenes, but overall, I thought it actually captured the character pretty well. Anyway, one night, Sonic is playing baseball by himself, and he ends up getting so upset that he's just so lonesome. He goes really fast, knocks out everybody's power until the government is called in and they say, how are we gonna deal with this? Is this a terrorist attack or something like that? And they end up calling Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. Going into this movie, a lot of people were saying that Jim Carrey was one of the best things in it, and they're absolutely right. Jim Carrey just embraces the insane character that he's given, and he just plays that old school wacky Jim Carrey shit. He is making goofy facial expressions, he is flailing his body all around, but it's not annoying. He does it in a very entertaining way. If you ask me, I kind of would have wanted them to get Danny DeVito to play Eggman because he's a short, stocky little bald man. Either way, Jim Carrey was really good in the role. So Jim Carrey starts finding little hints that this little blue hedgehog alien thing is wandering around. Like sees that they're coming after him, so he's like, I gotta bounce, I gotta get to this other world that isn't Earth, and the other world is inhabited by nothing but giant mushrooms. At first I thought, is that a diss at Mario? Because Mario loves mushrooms, Sonic. You don't know what you're talking about. Mario probably would have enjoyed that. Sonic is about to use his ring portal thing to get out of there, but of course he ends up coming across James Marsden. They both freak out. Like accidentally dropped a bag full of these teleportation rings into a portal that he accidentally laid on the ground. and then he lost all of them because James Marsden shot him in the foot with a tranq. That's when Jim Carrey shows up, sees Sonic for the first time. Sonic gets them out of there because some of his egg robot things start shooting at them. They hop in James Marsden's truck and they bounce, and so basically the quest is they gotta get from there to San Francisco, because in San Francisco, that's where Sonic rings have landed. Why can't Sonic just run all the way to San Francisco? And there's an explanation for that. It's that, oh, he can't run across the ocean. I mean, come on. I've seen The Incredibles. I've seen that little Flash kid do it. You can't tell me he couldn't run on water? So from there, it becomes your buddy road trip comedy. There's a scene where they stop at a bar and they start a bar fight. It's one thing they established that I really don't think was paid off all that well throughout the movie, and that James Marsden, after getting into this bar fight and punching out Jim Carrey, they established that he's basically wanted by the government, that he is like now harbored as a terrorist. He even shows up on the news as a terrorist who punched a government official. And so you think that that's gonna come into play. But later, no. Every place they go where they have to like talk to employees of places and stuff, nobody once in that building says, hey, that guy was on the news listed as a terrorist. Not even when they're in a building with a duffel bag with what he says is a kid talking inside of it, nobody calls the police on him. Or they're being chased by this giant remote control car that has a bunch of little egg robots fly out and try to blow them up and shit. And that was pretty cool. Honestly, if the whole 3D trend was still popular with movies like this, honestly, I think that and the ending fight sequence probably would have been pretty badass in 3D. Eventually get to San Francisco. They meet up with James Marsden's girlfriend, who was hanging out with her sister and their niece. Her niece gives Sonic a new pair of shoes, and this is where Sonic gets his trademark red shoes. They work their way into the building. Sonic gets his bag of rings. It seems like it's all goodbye, but then Robotnik shows up, and Sonic is ready to have a fight. He's able to save his friends and get them out of harm's way, and they have a giant chase action sequence all throughout the world as they're jumping in, through, and out of rings into different parts of the world, until ultimately it comes back to the small town of Green Hill, and there's a big fight scene, and ultimately it ends with Robotnik being pushed into a portal into that mushroom world. And the movie ends with a happy note of Sonic basically becoming like their adopted son, and he lives in the attic with all of his stuff that he had in his cave, and Sonic finally has friends and is now part of a family. And then the movie has end credits that look like a Sega game with a song by Wiz Khalifa. This is just me, and you could say that, oh, maybe the song wouldn't have been appropriate for a kid's movie, but I personally would have preferred if Knuckles My Knucka by Rucka Rucka Ali was the ending song for the credits, but yeah, you know, give or take. And then there's also some stuff right before the actual credits roll, like they show Jim Carrey in the mushroom world, and he looks a lot more like Robotnik did in the game, like his head is shaven and his mustache is fucking massive. Although that said, I think the best part of the movie easily had to be the fact that the family behind me that had like 6 kids was talking all throughout the entire film, and the fact that I could barely make out what was even being said in one sequence because there was a baby crying. That kind of shit is just awesome. I mean, that kind of shit, that just makes or breaks a movie theater experience. It really does. It just adds to it so much. Now, since we're talking about this movie, we do have to go into the fact that the original design for this movie was absolute dog shit. I mean, why? Why would you give Sonic realistic human eyes and teeth and try to make his feet look like humanistic? Why would you do that? You know what? And I give him serious amount of credit for this. Sega stepped in and was like, yo, people are going to be complaining about this shit if we release the movie this way. You're going to take that shit back and make it look like it does in the games. That is listening to criticism from the fans, and you know what? It shows that they actually do care about their audience. Yeah, no, there's a couple critics out there that are like, oh, you know, this is just on par with all those other shit adaptation movies. This is no different than the Masters of the Universe movie from the 80s, which, let me tell you something, if you've actually seen that movie, nothing in this movie, even the worst shit that's in this movie, is nowhere near as bad as that fucking movie. That movie had He-Man rolling around in a pink Cadillac. There is nothing on the same level of that shit in this. Yeah, overall, if you want my opinion, it's definitely a movie for the fans. I feel like Sonic fans would get a kick out of it. In terms of video game movies, you could certainly do worse. I mean, there's a fuck ton of awful video game movies. Is there really any good video game movies out there? Like, I know everyone said Detective Pikachu, and I guess this is kind of on that level if you're a Sonic fan. It's a decent family movie. I mean, I heard adults without kids going to see this movie laughing at it. Like, there was a lot of adult jokes in there. I mean, overall, would I recommend this movie? Yeah. I mean, if you're a Sonic fan, I think you would enjoy it. If you want to see a movie that's aimed towards your nostalgia, if you grew up in the 90s and like these kind of movies, I feel like you'd enjoy it. It's one of the better kinds of these kinds of movies. It's not a great movie, but it's definitely something that someone who grew up with the property would probably really like. Or, I mean, hell, look at me. Like, I was never the world's biggest Sonic guy. I played a few of the Sonic games, watched some of the cartoons, and yeah, overall, I came away saying, yeah, it's pretty good. It's nothing great, but I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. Well, I will say this. Unfortunately, some notches towards the movie do go down, in my opinion, because, sadly, there is not a scene in the movie where Eggman cusses out Shadow the Hedgehog for being a bitch-ass motherfucker who pissed on his fucking wife. And there's not a scene where he uses a giant cannon laser to shoot out his super laser piss on the moon. So unfortunately, because they left out such a critical thing in the Sonic the Hedgehog mythos, points have to go down, but hopefully that is building to be a critical part of one of the sequels, if this movie does get sequels. But yeah, overall, Sonic the Hedgehog movie, I liked it. I really did. And I think a lot of people are gonna have a lot of fun with this movie. It's nothing great, but in terms of video game movies, or movies that are aimed to please your nostalgia, you could certainly do far worse, and I had a lot of fun with this one. So yeah, I'm MC Swigga, y'all. Look forward to my Seinfeld song parody coming up soon. It's gonna be ready in a couple days. Just you remember, y'all, Knuckles, you are my knucker.
'Cause Knuckles, you are my knucker. There's no other knucker like you. 'Cause Knuckles, you are my knucker. My knuckles, you my knucker. You my knucker, you my knucker. You is my knucker, Knuckles.
I come to make an announcement. Shadow the Hedgehog's a bitch-ass motherfucker. He pissed on my fucking wife. That's right. He took his hedgehog fucking quilly dick out and he pissed on my fucking wife and he said his dick was this big.
I'm spending most our time living in a hipster's paradise. Reading blogs all day and night, living in a hipster's paradise. Song is mean, yeah, it's not nice. It makes fun of hipster's paradise. Hey. Motherfucker, motherfucker,